it is what it is. But you and I, really about a month or so ago, began saying James Harden's the MVP. Like, that dude is balling. We talked about the 19-4 record. He's the main reason, as great as Kyrie is. And so I'm going to throw this out at you, Rob. Who would you say is the most important net, most important to their success? And we know for them, success is not winning the East. It's not getting to the finals. It is winning it all. Who's the most important net to that?
I still think it's Kevin Durant, and I only from the standpoint, and if Harden plays well and Kyrie's been balling, this is like one of his best years. I mean, he's playing well.
Probably his best year, yeah.
Right? Regular season best year,
Yep.
definitely. But I think it's Durant, only because of his history, Chris, in the NBA Finals, 2-1, 2 MVPs, slayed LeBron twice. 8-1 record in the finals, been there, done that.
Wait,
pressure.
Not 8-1.
No, I mean in those two finals. I'm talking about in those two. No, I said he was 2-1.
Fudging your numbers to fit
No, I
the
said
argument?
he was 2-1, but I'm saying in the last two finals, 8-1 against LeBron.
He's 9-5, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall.
So that history and that pedigree is something that you could utilize, especially since Harden has had his meltdowns and his issues in the postseason. So you're going to look to a guy who's been there, done it. That doesn't mean that Harden can't continue to play well and break out and maybe even become the finals MVP because he plays that well. That could happen.
Absolutely.
Because the pressure's off, Chris. You know, it's not just him. He's got two other guys who have been there, done that, two guys that have been champions. Kyrie's won a championship. Durant's won 2, and Harden is the new guy on the block trying to win his first. But I still think it's Durant because of his history.
Well, I'm going to say this. If I were basing it solely on regular season play, and not just this year, because obviously we haven't seen much of Durant this year. If I'm just basing on regular season play, what I've seen from Harden this year, and even what I've seen from Durant in years past regular season, I would say James Harden. Because James Harden's ability, his versatility, his ability to be the playmaker, to run the point at a level that very few players in history have run it at, the fact that he is a guy that can give you 40 when you need it, and yet give you 25 and 11 when you don't need the 40. The fact that he is an incredible passer, is spreading the wealth, setting the table, getting not only Kyrie and Kevin Durant involved, but also Joe Harris, Nick Claxton, Bruce Brown, all these other guys, Jeff Green, getting them involved, keeping them happy. And he's got the gravitas. We've seen him call out his friend DeAndre Jordan. He can say things to guys. Like, what he's doing is critical. As great as Kyrie is, and they just had a graphic on the screen, Rob, Kyrie matched Vince Carter for the most 40-point games in a season with 4. I think that's the stat. Kyrie's been fantastic. And like you said, I think this is his best season. I think he's better than he was when he played in Cleveland with LeBron, as great as he was then. So he's playing great, but Kyrie's not a table setter. Kyrie doesn't keep and get everybody involved the way Harden does. He's not the point guard that Harden is. Even though he came up as a point guard, Harden's the better point guard. And so I would say it would be Harden, Rob, because they were 7-6 with KD and Kyrie before Harden got there. So there was an adjustment period. But as you said, because of Harden's struggles at critical moments in the playoffs, not always, he's had some big games in big moments, but he's had a ton of clunkers, Rob, a ton, relatively speaking. I mean, I think of San Antonio, that game 6, I think he only took 10 or 11 shots, had a bunch of turnovers, might have scored 10 points. he's had games where he had 10, 12 turnovers in
Right.
critical playoff. Like, he's had his struggles, and whether it's he's just worn down physically by that point in the season from carrying his team, or mentally he gets psyched out or melts down, whatever. I don't know if that's going to happen again. So we've seen, to your point, Kevin Durant on the big stage. And he had some moments too. You know, they dropped a 3-1 lead to Golden State in the conference finals. He wasn't good in those last 3 games. So he's had some struggles too.
Yeah, but the only difference
to the
is
degree that Harden has.
Yeah,
Look, he was great against Golden State, like I predicted in Golden State, like I predicted he would be when he went there. But it is a lot easier when you have such a great cast with you, and there's not the pressure on you to make every shot and be that guy. And that may help Harden. I think that's going to happen with Harden. Not that he'll necessarily make the big shot, but I think he's going to be fine in these playoffs. But just because he hasn't, Rob, I got to go with KD. That's why. That's the only reason why.
Yeah,
Nothing
it's
else.
hard to argue with that, with the logic behind it. But other people might think something different, that maybe they need Harden, or maybe this is Kyrie's year. You know, like it started out, Chris.
I'd be shocked if anybody said Kyrie.
Really?
As great as he is. Yeah, because you can – I mean, Kyrie's been in big moments by himself.
He sealed one of the greatest comebacks in sports history.
Right. I don't think anybody's not going to say he can't shoot. He can't hit a clutch shot, because I agree with you. He might be their most clutch guy. I think he probably is there. I would actually say he is their biggest clutch guy. But Durant can hit a clutch shot too. And Kyrie, I don't think he's that number one guy to carry your team. We saw him in Boston, and they actually did worse in the playoffs with him. So, but maybe somebody will say it, because he is a great player, of course.
And here's a thing from ESPN FPI. The Nets have a 11% chance of winning the title without KD, but just a 3% chance without Harden.
Right.
What do you make
of that? They didn't do Kyrie?
No, just those two.
Yeah. I think Kyrie 6%.
Is it 6?
So a higher percentage with Kyrie. I think they're I think, Rob, if they had KD and Harden and no Kyrie, I think they still be the favorites. I think KD, Kyrie, they're not the favorites, but they could win it. I think Harden, Kyrie, they're not the favorites, but they could win it. So that goes into what we were saying with KD as that guy. So who is the most important player to the Nets long-term success? Kevin Durant, James Harden, or maybe some of you think Kyrie Irving? Your turn to weigh in with Chris and Rob, the Odd Couple.
Let's kick it off. Let's start with Jax in Kansas City. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What you got, Jax?
Fellas, thanks for taking my call. Chris, what's up, Noob?
What up, bro? I knew.
Hey, no doubt. Hey, I tell you what, for me, you just said it. I'm calling Kyrie, because if you got a focused, really mentally in the game, Kyrie, with the abilities that he brings to the table, along with these other two guys, that Nets team is absolutely unbeatable. They might be unbeatable anyway, but I just think that Kyrie brings so much to the table when he's focused. I think that you put him with those two, because like you said, you never really know what Harden's going to do in the playoffs. And, of course, if Durant's on the floor, he's going to be impactful, but he can't do it by himself. So I really think Kyrie is your most important net. I think he brings the heat to the table, no doubt.
That's interesting. Yeah,
I would agree. Like I said, I think if you want to say he's their most clutch player, I wouldn't argue with that. But I can't say he's more important than KD or Harden.
Yeah. No, I hear you, but you can make a case for Kyrie that he's been there. When they beat the Warriors, he averaged 28.5 points, Chris. You know what I mean? So we do know that he can play in a big stage. All right, Drew in New Jersey. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. Drew, what exit?
I'm going with KD. You need to be able to get stops, and you need to be able to get a jump shot at will. KD can do all those things. James Harden relies on the free throw line. That doesn't work.
That's a good point, Rob, because we've seen that, Rob. Like,
well, he's been trying to get calls in the playoffs,
right.
and he don't get them. They don't call him, and so
That's a great point.
Yeah, you just can't like bump up against people, Chris, and hope that you get bailed out.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
Right. Good call.
Is that Miko in Compton? Miko, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio.
City of
Yeah,
Compton.
Miko, that's what's up, Rob. Yeah, I think, hey, what's up, Chris and Rob? I think the most important player is James Harden. He don't have a championship. You know, him and Blake Griffin, they got to step. If KD and Kyrie don't win it this year, KD got 2 championships, Kyrie got 1, so James Harden got to step it up. I don't think he's been a total bust in the playoffs, but he couldn't get it done with Chris Paul or Westbrook. So with Kyrie and KD, you know, KD just need to be KD this year. He don't need to push it too hard. Just be a 7-foot defender, hit shots, and just let that Achilles rest in the season. You know, just don't be pushing it too hard. James Harden got to push it all the way.
Are you concerned at all? And you're right, Harden. I think Rob would agree with this. Harden has not been a total bust in the playoffs. I can point to some big, huge games.
He's had big games, but
big
people
moments.
People remember the meltdowns.
Right.
You know,
and
it's
been a number of them. It hasn't just been 1 or 2. Are you concerned at all about that? Is the caller still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, Chris.
Are you concerned about that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I say, James Harden, he hasn't been a bust. That Game 7 when Chris Paul got hurt, I can't put that on Harden. So that's a boost in talent a little bit. You know, a Kyrie and a KD and the depth of the Nets. So James Harden, he got to step it up. I mean, when he get to the playoffs, he got to still be James Harden from the regular season. He got to step it up even more than that. KD, he could just, like you always talking about transcending players yesterday, Yep. KD could just be out there. He don't have to go 100 miles per hour. He is 7 foot. He could defend multiple positions, hit shots, make free throws. But Harden, him and Kyrie got to push it.
Right. Like Rob, Harden, I mean, this could be the perfect situation for him because he is playing like a great point guard. And, you know, with KD and Kyrie there, the pressure's not on him to hit every big shot. You know what I'm saying?
No,
when they
definitely.
need a bucket, everybody's not just looking at him.
What did you call it earlier this year? You were talking about, like, whose turn is it? You know what I mean? Like,
man.
You know, where it's just like, okay, here you go. It's your turn.
Right.
Now it's my turn. Now it's my turn. There's so many different people there who could score baskets for you. How about Mark in Sacramento? You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio.
What's going on, gentlemen?
What's up, Mark?
What's going on, gentlemen?
Very nice.
I see you trying to make your voice a little deeper. But.
You know, Iowa Sam is on the job. Let me hear that again, Iowa Sam.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Very nice.
You guys had a young man on last week who did it right after me. He sounded like me. It scared me.
Yes.
I can't remember his name.
You're becoming a star, man.
But he did.
People imitating you.
What's going on, gentlemen? What's going on, gentlemen? What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey, guys, real quick. Yeah. I think it's James Harden. Hey, Rob, and this is the reason why I watched all that bad basketball you asked me about since Christmas to see how it messed out. James Harden is the most natural point guard on that team. James Harden ran the D'Antoni system, which he had to figure out who and when to get the ball to with those shooters. He's naturally good at that. Those other guys aren't. And James Harden knows when and who to get the ball to. And if you're watching him, I think he's leading the league in assists. And if I'm not mistaken, he has before. So he's the most natural point guard. And he's getting those other guys the ball in good shooting spots, not just the 2 stars. It's the other guys that he's playing with. He plays well with all those other guys. I think he's the key. It's James Harden.
One thing people don't know about Harden, he's the one, he actually told me this years ago. If you watch him in high school, he was a playmaker. Like he's told me, he's like, I've always had the ball in my hands and making plays. I didn't watch him a lot in high school, but I went back and looked at some video, high school, college. This was years ago. And he's right. Like, this isn't new. He has always been able to play like that. In Houston, they just got to a point where they just wanted him to score so much. But, yeah, he is definitely the most natural point guard. All right,